We've been talking about the very sweet pastimes of Radha Krishna and the aspirations of Raghunath Das Goswami to serve in those pastimes. We heard about that for about 10 days or so, and hope everyone can hear okay. Everything's good. Yes, no problem. We've been speaking a lot about Bhagavad Gita, Krishna's instruction to Arjuna, how to progress in life, spiritual life. And some things from childhood, I've been hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam. This is tradition in our Hare Krishna movement. We hear from the Srimad Bhagavatam. This is the culture established by Bhakti Swami Prabhupada, which was established by Bhaktisiddhanta Prabhupada, and in due course, actually, it was established by our whole succession. Raghunath Bhatta Goswami, of the 6 Goswamis, disciples of Chaitanya, would speak regularly on the Bhagavatam. And Gadadhar Pandit, the incarnation of Srimati Radhika, he would speak on the Bhagavatam. And Mahaprabhu is famous for saying that the Bhagavatam is the main evidence and the authority for Vaishnavas, worshippers of Sri Krishna. The Bhagavatam is the main authority, the main evidence. It's the spotless Purana. It's focused one-pointedly on developing pure love of God as the highest goal of life. All right? Can we get a Jai? Jai! Haribo. Jai. So there are 4 goals of human life. We'll hear them from Bhaktizad. What are the 4 goals? 4 Purushartha. Dharma. That means religiosity, but what is our aim and intention? It may be for material results. Then there is Artha, economic development, to acquire wealth, status, position. Then Kam, which means to satisfy our material desires, and Moksha, which means when we become exhausted from those 3 things, which is inevitable, then we strive for liberation. All right? So those are the 4 general goals of human life. Okay? 4 goals of human life: Dharma, religiosity, but often the intention is for some form of material satisfaction, not unadulterated love of God or service to God. The second is Artha, you could say, to enhance our position, our career, our status, our success in material terms. Economic development for countries, for individuals is important, right? They say, money can't buy you happiness, but it doesn't hurt. Have you heard that one? I think that's how it goes, right? Something like that. Anyhow, so there's economic development. Then there is Kam, material desires to be satisfied. Okay, Vrindavan? And the 4th is liberation. However, in the Bhagavatam, there's a beautiful verse right in the beginning, the first chapters, and it's the glory of bhakti, devotion to God. Akamo sarva kamova, that if you have no material desires or all desires, moksha kama, if you want liberation, udharadi, or you're even greater than that, still, no matter what you aspire for, it can be fulfilled through the practice of bhakti. So if we study the Bhagavad Gita, this goes along with the teaching of the Gita. Krishna teaches about sakama bhakti. That means devotion to God to satisfy your material desires. And that is found in many religions. And within many religions, it's not a religious issue. It's a religious people, practitioner thing, right? Because you can also find within every religion, there are genuine seekers of pure love of God who don't pray to God for any reward for their devotion. And the Bhagavatam, Prahlad Maharaj is famous. He's the boy saint who's fearless. And he never gave up his devotion to God, even in faced with all difficulties and all challenges, even from his own family trying to kill him, his father. But he said to the Lord when he appeared that, "O Lord, I have not worshipped you for any reward." The Lord asked him if he would take a boon. "Please take a boon. I'll give you any benediction you desire." He said, "Lord, I'm not a merchant." We find this often in this world that, we offer the Lord some little donation and we ask for a large donation in return. It's like the best penny stock you could imagine, right? I'm going to give God, in India, we give him you buy sugar candy. And even that, there's a certain kind, it's called batasa. It's like mostly air, but it looks like a candy. And outside it's sugar coat but inside is just air. And it's very cheap. So you buy some of that, it's called batasa. And you offer it on a plate to God. And so he has a plate of like puffed sugar. Mostly air, but some sugar. And then you say, oh Lord, I've offered you this, please give me a boon. What is the boon you desire? I wish to be married to this very beautiful person above my pay grade. I wish to have great opulence, great kingdom, all these things. So we're asking God for such a great reward for such a small token offering. And Krishna is very simply pleased also. There's a verse in scripture that says, you can offer me a few leaves of tulasi and some Ganga water, and you purchase me. Vikrinite samatmanam, that I am purchased by your devotion. So it's also true that you can have devotion to God and get your desires fulfilled. There's a whole wing of prosperity preachers. You know, the law of attraction. Knock and the door shall open, ask and ye shall be given. And there's validity to that. Okay? Dear Lord, it's described that by chanting his names with offenses, with an offensive mood, with neglect, thinking that the name is not so powerful or thinking that it's ordinary, you can chant the names of God with even neglect and get great opulence. That's the power of the name. Have you heard of that? You can chant Krishna's names neglectfully, and the result is you can get great wealth, position, and so forth. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And then, next life you wake up and you're a king of heaven. Or even this life, great things can happen to offenders to the name. Such is the mercy of the Lord. Even those who are committing offense while chanting can get great benefit. That's his great mercy. It says in the Bible, don't take the Lord's name in vain. And the seventh offense to chanting is to commit sins on the strength of chanting and think, oh, I'm just going to wash away my sins and keep sinning. But you can get material results simply by your devotion to God, and God is very merciful like that. But beyond these four goals of life, there's the ultimate goal of life, which is ultimately satisfying the soul, which is that relationship of love and direct connection. That's the only thing that ultimately satisfies the Atma. There's a famous verse in the Bhagavatam, Vrindavan, about the ultimate, highest dharma for humankind. We just did our arti now. There's like incense wafting through the room. It's very nice. Jai, okay. Pro dharma yato bhakti radoksaje ahaitukya pratyata yatma suprasiditi. So the highest dharma is devotion and relationship with God. Adoksaje, he is transcendental. So the power of devotion to the Lord is that it brings you to the transcendental platform. That's the power of devotion. However, if your devotion is... We do our arti here in the temple and because the doors are shut, strong, very powerful incense. No, it's okay, it's nice. It's like fragrance, it just kind of floats in the room for a while. Hare Krishna. Secondhand incense. Very nice. Hare Krishna. Jai. What's the fragrance of this incense, Vrindavan Prabhu? Rose. Burnt rose. Haribo. Very nice. You smell it? It's nice. Okay. So, what are we talking about? I've been running around, so I came unprepared. So, usually when I'm unprepared, then I just start joking. Right? Hare Krishna. Okay. So, the final goal, the real goal of human life, which actually gives satisfaction to the heart, is devotion without any other cause. See, this is an important point here in the Bhagavatam. I'm connecting the Bhagavatam and the Gita. The Gita, Krishna says, you can worship me for material results, no problem. In the second chapter, he says, do yagyas, do sacrifice, and, be happy, prosper, enjoy, multiply. In the Bible, the Lord said, multiply, and everyone cheered. Yeah! It's like, great. We can serve God by multiplying the human race. This is one form of service. Is it the highest service? One time, Bhakti Siddhanta Prabhupada, I believe it's a Bhakti Siddhanta Prabhupada quote. He said, if I thought I could make every child of mine a devotee, I would have thousands of children. But there's no guarantee because the soul is free, has free will. The soul has free will. So anyhow, the point is that, prosperity, and that means satisfying your desires, kama, increasing your economic position, all these things can be engaged in indirect service to God or in dharma. They are purushartha, goals of life. But they do not satisfy the soul. They'll satisfy your ego, your mental state until, the coin flips to the other side, which is suffering. All right? Material life, each life is the coins flipping, sometimes heads, sometimes tails, suffering and happiness, material duality, joy and sorrow, profit and loss, victory and defeat. This happens. This is not God's fault. We've heard about this recently. It's not the Lord's fault that, our karmic reactions come to us. It's just nature. Lion eats the deer, and when the deer is dying, it's angry at the lion. Next life, it's thinking of the lion, looking at the lion. Next life becomes a lion, eats a deer. This is the cycle of material life. There's a story in the Bhagavatam of an insect hiding, and it's very afraid of this wasp who's hovering over it. And it's so absorbed in it, looking, completely absorbed. Its consciousness becomes completely absorbed in its object of its fear. So then in its next life, it becomes that wasp. Becomes a wasp. And so the Bhagavatam then states that we should therefore absorb our minds in God, focus on God, and our next life will achieve a divine position, form that is transcendental. Right? We don't become God, but we get a transcendental form. Just like that insect did not become the wasp, but he achieved a wasp-like form because his consciousness was so focused on that. And so therefore in the Bhagavad it says, even if you focus, this is the liberal mood of the scripture, the Bhagavad, that, and I'm going to compare it to the Gita, continuing this kind of comparison of bhakti, because in the Bhagavad it says you can have bhakti on many levels for material desires and so on and so forth, but really the Bhagavatam is focused on unadulterated devotion, pure devotion without any desire for reward from God, except love for Him, relation with Him. That's the real aim, right? And in the Bhagavatam it says, look, even if you want to think of God in fear of Him, or in enmity of Him, in hatred of Him, or in love, any of those ways of completely focusing on God can give you liberation. But still, you get a result according to your desire. The famous story of that is the daughter of Bali Maharaj, who is thinking of the Lord with, at first, parental love. I think he was so beautiful. He was a young boy. She thought, I'd love to give him my breast milk as a mother. But then she saw that he chastised her father and bound him with the serpent coils of Anantashesh. And then she thought, if he was my son, I would poison him. And so both desires got fulfilled. In her next life, she became Putana, and she tried to poison Krishna. But Krishna actually took her original desire as higher. Originally, she had love for Krishna, naturally, spontaneously. She saw the beautiful form of Krishna as Vamana, and she had parental love come in her heart and wanted to breastfeed him. Then later, because of some egoic misunderstanding, an obstacle, she thought, I would poison him. That was a temporary desire. And Krishna accepted her mood, liberated her, gave her a spiritual form like his mother. So this is the mercy of Krishna. Therefore it said, Kamva dayalum sharanam brajema. Who is more merciful than Krishna? Someone came to poison him, and he fulfilled her real desire, which was to be his mother. Right? So this is how we advance in bhakti. So the Bhagavad Gita says sakam, material desires, then niskam, without desires, but no intimacy. Right? So we can have devotion to God, but without any intimacy, without any sambandha or sweetness of relationship. So we also are being taught in the Bhagavatam to advance beyond that. Why? That's why we hear the Vrindavan pastimes. They're all about the intimacy of Krishna's friendships with his family, his associates, his beloveds. Right? So this is a higher stage of bhakti, and this is really the aim. We're trying to come to a real mood of love for God. And love for God is not an impersonal thing. Right? Love for God is a very deeply personal thing. God is not just the soul of the universe, the soul of existence. He is the Lord of our heart. Okay? He's the closest thing to us. He is the soul of everything. He's the soul of life itself, the soul of the soul, the self of the self, but he's dwelling in each and every one of our hearts. And so love is a very intimate, sweet thing. So the Bhagavatam ultimately is going towards that conclusion of love and sweetness and intimacy with the Lord. And that's why in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna tells that to Arjuna many times. He says, he gives many levels of instructions. And people think, according to the level they're on, they think that instruction is paramount. He says, Sukhe dukhe same kritva labha labha jayo jayo tato yuddha yujjasva naivang prapam apasasi. Should do your duty, fight for the sake of fighting without considering loss or gain, victory or defeat, happiness or distress, thou shalt doing, you shall never incur sin. Then later he says the same thing, but he says, while thinking of me, tasmat karmani, that yavat karmani kurvita nanirvidyate yavata, while doing your activities, you should think of me. And not only will you not incur sin, but you will come to me. Tasmat sarveshu kaleshu mama nusmara yuddhacha. So which is a higher instruction? According to the level you're on, you think that's a higher instruction. You understand? Oh, I should just do my duty and be attached. And people think that's the essence of the Gita. Do your duty and be detached. And then some people say, no, the Gita is karmanivadi karaste man paleshu karachna. Do your duty. That is the essence of the Gita. And then they completely neglect the second line. I've lived in India many years, and people say, no, Krishna meant the Gita, just do your duty. That's what he said. In the end, he told Arjuna fight. In the beginning, he said fight. He said do your duty. No. The verse where he says do your duty, the second line says offer the results to me, dedicate yourself to me. So people, according to the glasses you wear, it's like some glasses. You imagine you're wearing a pair of glasses where it just negates some colors. I don't know if they have that kind of thing where it's like you can't see yellow.
You have that on camera lenses.
Okay, filters, right? So you have filters where you're reading the scripture and you just completely filter out something, But that's why Swami Prabhupada, one of his unique contributions is that he goes directly to the essence of the teachings of Krishna. He says, Bhagavad Gita as it is. What is the intention of the author, of the speaker? How can you neglect the intention of the speaker, the author, and then study the work? It's not your contribution. I've heard this many times. Write your own, your own Gita, right? This Paramahansa Gita, this Brahmalin Gita, this Advaitavad Gita. But you're reading Bhagavad Gita, Krishna's Gita. And what is Krishna's intention and Krishna's message? Therefore, Guru is supposed to be like the flute who is carrying the transparent message of Krishna and distributing it in enhancing the sweetness, but in giving Krishna's own message. That means enhancing the sweetness means their own relationship with Krishna as a devotee is very sweet. So Krishna is giving the message as God, but when his devotee gives the message, it's enhanced because the unique relationship between the devotee and God becomes revealed. You understand? So that's why the Bhagavatam is spoken by Sukadeva Goswami, and it said it becomes sweeter with every telling. Sukhamukara amritadrava samyutam. Just like a ripe mango bitten by a parrot becomes more sweet. So there's many ideas here, but the essence is that what is the real import of the Gita, and what are the various levels of the Gita, and how do we understand that? By taking shelter to the Bhagavat, because the Bhagavat is the continuation. The Gita is, everything is present within the Gita, but the Bhagavatam is actually the form of Krishna. This is described again in scripture. So the Gita is the speech of Krishna. The Bhagavatam is his very form, how to understand God, how to understand the nature of God, the form of God. Therefore, there is this book, the Bhagavatam. Understand? So it's a very important scripture. And how to understand the Bhagavatam? You understand Lord Chaitanya. That's why Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, in the introduction to the Bhagavatam, it's all about Lord Chaitanya, 30 pages about Lord Chaitanya. So it's similar to the New Testament and the Old Testament, right? In essence, the life of Lord Chaitanya is the sequel to the life of Sri Krishna. Understand? The life of Lord Chaitanya is the sequel of the life of Sri Krishna. It's Krishna himself coming to teach us in the mood of his devotee. For this age, that's why when I started class, I was in a fun, happy mood, and I sang this song because, I'm going to give you the essence of many stories here. So since childhood, we read verse by verse by verse, and sometimes, we spend one day per verse, and it's a very detailed way. I remember we'd go to school, and we'd get through a canto and then start again the next year because it's hard to do. There's more than 300 verses per canto, and you do one verse a day, so it's hard to get through the whole thing. But what we're going to do is we're going to focus on specific stories, that capture the essence of the mood, the stories of different devotees, great teachings, important teachings for us, and we're going to go through it in that way. And we're also going to take shelter of the teachings of Lord Chaitanya. That's why I'm mentioning Lord Chaitanya here in the beginning, because he's so merciful. He said, look, we sang this song. He's so merciful that ultimately, study is part of our process, hearing, remembering, studying. But he's so merciful that he says, look, I accept you as you are. Try to progress, but I know the situation of this age. All right? Lord Chaitanya is very merciful. He knows who he's dealing with. All right? He knows the situation. In the Bhagavatam, the very beginning, it says, look, the sages are speaking about the problems of the upcoming age. The age of quarrel, the age of deceit, the age of hypocrisy. And they say, look, in this age, people are short-lived, lazy, not very intelligent comparatively to previous times. And we can see that progressing more and more. We're outsourcing our intelligence to artificial intelligence. I grew up knowing hundreds of numbers, and now you don't know any numbers. Why? We've outsourced our intelligence. And if we use these tools, then we can be more intelligent, right? But if we lose our intelligence, then we're lost, right? Use the tools, but don't lose your intelligence. That means use your intelligence for a higher purpose. So anyhow, the point here is that in the age of Kali, we are quarrelsome. This is the beginning of the Bhagavatam. The sages are sitting in a forest, right? The sages assemble in a forest beyond time, Naimisharanya, a great forest. And they're discussing what to do with this coming age. What are we going to do? How are we going to help people? And they're discussing doing yagyas, sacrifices, for the betterment of the human race, how to help uplift them. And they discuss this point that what are we going to do? It's such a difficult situation. And the whole Bhagavatam is the answer to these questions. And we're going to hear these, and this is one thing about our study of the Bhagavatam, is that we're going to try to actually apply the teachings in our life rather than just gallop ahead. Many people are studying scripture, and they never help guide people into the actual practices. So, for example, Sukadeva Goswami gives different instructions to Parikshit Maharaj, and that's why we're having gap days, so that we say, okay, today is homework. Today is a day where we actually apply the instructions to go to from theoretical to experiential, from theory to practice. It's so important. We must take time to practice. Okay? Practice makes perfect, not theory. Have you ever heard that? Theory makes perfect. There's a reason it's practice makes perfect. Okay? So all the theory in the world is not going to help you. There's a funny story about this, all right? You want to hear the funny story? I do. There was a pundit, a Sanskrit scholar, and he was teaching village to village. So he was traveling village to village to teach people and gain money for his learning. So he came to one village and he taught there, and then he was going to leave that night or that evening to the next village. And they said, you should be careful. Don't go now. Go tomorrow. We'll send some guards with you, some people with you. Why? Because there's a Vyagra, there's a tiger in this forest, a man-eating tiger in this forest. There's a violent tiger. And he says, Vyagra. And then he uses Sanskrit grammar to say, what does he say, Vrindavan? Vyangram, which means to smell. No. The Sanskrit grammar says that the word tiger actually means to smell something, because many Sanskrit words have these multiple meanings. So he says, it will see me and it will come and smell me. It'll be no problem. I know Sanskrit. You don't know Sanskrit. I'm a scholar. I came here to teach you. You're not my teacher. This is called street sense versus book knowledge. Right? Street smarts versus streetwise. The villager said, don't go. Go later or go tomorrow. And he thought, you just want to take me through the forest because, you'll charge me or this or that. I'm just going to go, strong-headed, stubborn fool, over-intelligent fool. Right? Book knowledge, no real knowledge. So he went along the way, and then the tiger came, and he said, oh, dear tiger, welcome. Now you can come and sniff me. And the tiger said, yes, but I want to do more than smell. I'm hungry. I'm going to eat you. So he ate that scholar. So theory doesn't make perfect. Practice makes perfect. Okay? Theoretical knowledge is not our process. That's why Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Tadvidi pranipadena pariprashnena sevaya upadekshanti te jnanam jnaninas tattvadarshina. Go to the person who's realizing the truth. Go to the person who's realizing the truth, take shelter there, and gradually try to make advancement through following guidance. Parinipratena pariprasnena sevaya. Try to offer yourself, inquire and study and learn and serve. So, the point here is that Lord Chaitanya is very merciful and he knows the situation in this age. Lord Nityananda, when he was starting his ministry, first he went to Jagai Madai, who were the worst debauchees of the time, dacoits, loose character, violent, and he converted them. And all his sins were washed away, forgotten, and they became humble, they became tolerant, they became great devotees. They were placed in samadhi, that means given the sacred, honorable burial like saintly persons. This is the teaching of Lord Chaitanya. So it's very interesting that it's similar to, again, the Bible, where, I don't know why I'm drawing this parallel, but it came to mind, but the Old Testament is very strong, very firm, judgment. You get what you deserve. But then Christ came and said, I see the situation in the world. If we rule just by judgment, then, fire shall rain down upon us all. So let's this is the time, the age of mercy. All right? The age of mercy. Once you receive mercy and then you advance, then you have to be more strict. So this is another science, actually. It's another important point. Mercy is necessary. But then once you advance and you advance and you advance, then you say, oh mercy, oh mercy, oh mercy. Then that can become an offense. I'll give you an example. A little baby can pass stool and urine in its mother's lap, no problem. And even if it doesn't pass stool and urine in the mother's lap, the mother gives a diaper and very lovingly, with so much love, she cleans the stool. My child, right? Like it's chocolate ice cream. Very nice. No problem, right? Because it's my child. But if that child was 15, 20 years old and did the same thing, then what's she going to do? What? Nonsense, rascal, fool. What is wrong with you? Imbecile. I'll have to put you in a madhouse. Right? So this is mercy and judgment. People think, why is there mercy and judgment? Mercy is there for those who are innocent, simple, fallen, or even violent, even bad people, if they can receive mercy. But then once they advance and you're more on the human platform of life, really, truly coming out of animal consciousness, then you should be more serious. Then, oh, mercy, mercy. No, at that point, you're being a rascal. Right? No, at that point, judgment. Understand? That's called aparad. Great offense. Vaishnava aparad can destroy your bhakti. So these considerations are there, but mercy must be there. There is mercy. Lord Chaitanya's Karuna Avatirna Kalau, the incarnation of condensed mercy. And we glorify Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda as, of all incarnations, they're the most merciful. So they're not interested in judgment. But we are also our own judge, and karma is our judge. And that will come. All right? So the point here is mercy is prominent, but that doesn't give us an excuse to misbehave. Make sense? But the main fact is that in Kali Yuga, it is an ocean of faults. In this age, it's very hard to find, perfection, someone without any faults. So therefore, the Lord is the Lord of mercy. I remember my parents wrote beautiful songs about the Lord of mercy, Gaur Nityananda Prabhu. They're so merciful. They're the condensed incarnations of pure mercy. So we take shelter of them, and this is the answer to all the questions in the Bhagavatam. All right? That's why I'm mentioning this in the beginning, because actually it's a very joyful thing. You understand? There's so many instructions given, so many difficult sadhanas given. If you read the sadhanas in the Bhagavatam, some of them are extreme fasts, extreme austerities, extreme meditation that can help you advance. But you know who is the best Hatha Yogi? Who is the best Hatha Yogi in history? Hiranyakashipu. You know Hiranyakashipu? He's the father of Prahlad, and he stood on his toes for 60,000 years. The best Hatha Yogi, but his prayer was to become as if immortal, and as soon as he got his boons, his desire satisfied, he became the worst demon in history. He terrorized the entire universe, stopped all worship of God, killed the brahmanas, killed the cows, and his son, simply seeing the slightest indication of devotion to God, he tried to kill him. So what is the use of this? So that's another point I'm making here, is that desire, that is, we should make effort to have a clear desire love of God, service and relationship with God. It's not just exercise. That's not the practice we're trying to do. You understand? Our practice is in the devotional line, where we develop sweetness and love and devotion and relationship. And ultimately, the Bhagavatam and the Bhagavad Gita is leading us towards relationship with Krishna in sweetness and intimacy. Love of God is not impersonal. All right? Love of God is not impersonal. Realization of God can be impersonal. I realize God in his form as universal spirit or universal energy. That can be impersonal. But love of God is not impersonal. Love of God is personal. Just like love of anything in this world is personal. It's the most personal thing. Love is the most personal thing. It's related to you as a person, right? Even if it's love for the universe, and that's because you feel the presence of God in the universe. So you have love for that. It's the most personal thing. It's a feeling. It's an experience. It's a bhav. It's an emotion in your heart. And so ultimately the Bhagavatam is leading us towards that. Personal love of God. Just as the Bhagavad Gita is leading us towards that. That's what Krishna says to Arjuna. Manmana bhava mad bhakto. Think of me with love. Think of me with love. That's better than fear and all these other things, because you can get liberation from those things, liberation from your suffering. But that's just negation. It's not the positive attainment, right? So the Bhagavatam is teaching us ultimately, the ultimate conclusion is love of God. One time there's a story that someone heard the Bhagavatam and then was asked, so what is the essence? He said, I don't know, so many things were told. He studied it for a whole year, and then his guru said, okay, study it again. Then he heard the whole Bhagavatam. He said, all right, what do you understand now? He said, one should immediately run to Vrindavan. Or, as we are doing here, live in Manasi Vrindavan, serving in the temple according to Guru's orders, but always internally being in Vrindavan. And Thakurji is giving us a window into Vrindavan. All right? Understand? This is the essence of the Bhagavatam. The essence of the Bhagavatam is not analytical knowledge. It's not, learning everything. It's developing a relationship of love. And that is what is satisfying the soul. Yatma suprasiddhati. Sakam bhakti, materialistic devotion, can give you material desires, but it's not going to fulfill the desire of your soul. You will not be satisfied by it. Understand? Yatma suprasiddhati. Other processes will not give pure happiness and satisfaction to the soul, the real spirit, the real self. That's why you're always going up and up. That's why it's for purushartha. I need to do dharma so I can get artha. I need to do artha so I can get kam. Kam is not working. I guess I'll just go for moksha. Then you're not even satisfied by moksha. Then you want to go higher and higher and higher and higher. So that's just the ladder. But what's the top? And what's the essence? The only thing that can really satisfy the soul is that direct loving relationship, because that's the nature of the soul. The soul is looking for love. And how do you develop that love? That love is a mood of intimacy and possessiveness. The Lord is mine. He's the Lord of my heart. He is mine. I am His and He is mine. That is the nature of that mamata. That's why we chant the Mahamantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. It's chanting this mantra that develops that sweet intimacy. Develops that relationship of love. Krishna is mine. He is my beloved. He is the Lord of my heart. He is the beloved of Srimati Radhika. And the divine couple, they are like my family members. See? That is called Bhakti Rasa. Bhakti is devotion to God. Bhakti Rasa is relationship with God in devotion. So many people practice Bhakti, which means devotion to God. But for what desires? Many things. But those who follow Bhakti Rasa are those who are practicing devotion to God with yearning for a sweet, loving relationship. And that's what we've been hearing in the mornings. Very sweet pastimes of Krishna, because this helps us develop our attraction for Krishna and desire for a relationship with Krishna. So the main essence here tonight is that we should take shelter of Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda, who are the incarnations of mercy. And it is their mercy that has brought our teachers To the west, Swami Prabhupada, our Srila Gurudev, it's that mercy of Lord Nityananda, that mercy of Lord Chaitanya, that they're accepting the lowest of the low and bringing them to the highest transcendental platform. That is their speciality. And then they train you, that you advance. As we said, once you advance, then you shouldn't think, oh, they are so merciful, I can continue doing nonsense my whole life. That is not intelligence, right? You should progress. But still, the platform of this age is mercy. This is the age of mercy, not judgment. So we're taking shelter of Srila Gurudev, Srila Prabhupada, praying for their mercy. All right? So, there's so many important teachings. Here in the beginning of chapter 1, it talks about the Supreme Lord, the purpose of the Gayatri, 3 divisions of Vedic ways. So many amazing discussions, exchange of rasas between 2 equals, watering the root of the tree, symptoms of men in the age of quarrel, the summary of the scriptures, the glories of the name of the Lord, real remedy for peace in the world, incarnation of God. So many amazing things are discussed here, and we're going to go through them in the essence. But this is our practice, this is our sadhana, but I'm giving you the shortcut, I'm telling you the end. So that when you understand the end, then you relish the whole thing, while already possessing the essence for this age. The essence of this age is mercy, right? The ocean of scripture is a vast ocean. How are you going to navigate it? And also, it'll fulfill any desire, right? The Bhagavatam is one-pointed, but it's still an ocean. And there are many other scriptures, and they can lead to there's any kind of results. But if you study the Bhagavatam in whole, it gives you a very clear progression towards the ultimate goal of life, which is that sweetness of the relationship of divine love. And we take shelter of that through Lord Chaitanya and His mercy. Therefore, it said, Gaura prema rasarnave se tarange jeva dube se radha madamva antaranga. That our method to enter the association of Radha Krishna is diving into the ocean of love for Gauranga Chaitanya, who is so merciful. He has come in this age to deliver everyone. He's very merciful. So when we chant Maha Mantra, we also chant Panchatattva Mantra. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Then we chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Without Lord Chaitanya, how will we receive Krishna's mercy? Krishna has appeared as Lord Chaitanya to deliver everyone. So we take shelter of Lord Chaitanya. He's the most merciful incarnation. He doesn't look at anyone's faults. And especially Lord Nityananda, if you take shelter of Lord Nityananda, he is blind to your faults, and the slightest good quality he sees and amplifies that and brings you to your highest potential as an Atma, as a soul in relationship with Krishna. Okay, Sachinandan Gaur Hari Ki, Kali Yuga Pavan Avatari Gaur Nityananda Prabhu Ki, Srimad Bhagavatam Ki, Hidaya Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari Bo.